So we could just do a little round of introductions and sort of wait for Ankit to come in the meantime as well.
Sure. I'm Charley Thomas. I'm a solutions architect for Limelight Networks. So I've been in the content delivery space for about 17 years. Limelight is a CDN. It's been mentioned many times. So we help deliver the content to all the different locations in the world. So as part of that, we get to work with a lot of companies and their workflow and how they're distributing content, how they're getting it out on their own platforms, and what other technology platforms they're using to deliver content.
Hi, I'm Pinakin. I run Nirvana Digital. We're a digital distribution network. We run about 300 channels on YouTube. We do about 7 billion minutes of watch time every month. And we have approximately 60 million subscribers purely on YouTube. So if anyone has any kind of content that they need to distribute to platforms apart from YouTube, we also help with that.
Hi, my name is Ankit. I head business development for a company called Muvi. We are essentially a SaaS platform that enables anyone to launch their own OTT platform across the world. We are a New York-based company, and we have over 500 customers. The thing is that we provide a lot of consultations to different OTT platforms, media companies in this space as well. So yeah, thank you.
So for the benefit of the audience, we'll just start off with, I think, one question which I want to pose to all the three of you guys. And I think given that sort of, in a time when sort of nothing was available like OTT, the word wasn't even created as well, all of us went to good old YouTube and sort of saw and sort of enjoyed content. And I'm thinking that millions still do that. Having said that, I think, what do you think, for example, is, say, for example, in terms of even with some of the paid platforms today, how much of content is actually sort of created or available on YouTube, which is already also being put there? And what perhaps is that percentile which is sort of, I think, being consumed? Anyone wants to take a dig at that?
So traditionally, a lot of players have their content completely on YouTube. Slowly, they realized that they are not making enough revenues, and the OTT business kind of boomed. And everyone realized that they want to move everything out of YouTube onto their own platform. Now, there are quite a few such players in the market. For example, TVF is one of them. They started from YouTube and then eventually have their own OTT platform. However, there are still people like Old Balaji, for example. They put out a couple of episodes of a TV series on YouTube, and then if you want to watch the entire series, you go onto their platform. So that's the strategy that has worked very well for some of these players. Not just in India, but we have seen that internationally as well. In US, in Europe, in more mature markets. This is a very great tool for customer acquisition when it comes to OTT app.
So what you're saying is that try and put the teaser as what the promo is, put it on YouTube first.
Apart from teasers, you put out maybe one episode or two episodes of a TV series. So get that hook for the customer, and once they are hooked onto the content, ask them to come to the platform.
So most of the OTTs, let's say Alt Balaji does this, okay? For example, Amazon doesn't do that. Amazon doesn't need to, they don't believe that their content needs to be out there. The whole episode is out there. In fact, certain OTT players will do rights management on YouTube to see to it that their content is not available freely. But what does help is the fact that if there is a trailer, or if there is let's say, peripheral content around the show itself. So I think Made in Heaven was released 4 months back, but there's a song that came out even a week or 2 weeks back on YouTube. Because that peripheral content, the songs from it, about the characters, the right lines, the favorite lines, is what develops interaction. YouTube is still, like they were saying in the earlier panels, right? It's still a very interactive medium. I might not like the video, or I might not play the video, but I'll first read the comments and see, is this up my alley or not? So
is it about distribution? Is it about marketing? Or is it about making money?
Making money or making on your OTT platform anyways, right? So the point is to try and capture
No,
the guy.
there are
or
some
funnel the guy.
platforms who are sort of trying hybrid models, and therefore they don't have ads out there. So therefore, is it that they are able to sort of get monetization back from the same content on YouTube?
It's not, actually that's not the point. The point is that you have to use YouTube as a funneling mechanism to come to your OTT. You have to get them there. Whether you choose to give them 1 or 2 episodes for free or not is your choice, depending on what your TG is and how you know your content and your platform works. But it's not always necessary to give out the content for free.
Yeah, I'd say there's different ways people are using the platforms, right? Sometimes it's a fork of an attack, right? So you're using the free platform as part of your overall strategy to get people driven to your site. So other times it's used as a technology platform. So you're using it to collect other data about what's going on with the content you have. So maybe you're seeing what reporting data you can get from these platforms, or maybe you're starting off and you don't have necessarily the resources to build the entire infrastructure, so you start off with a free platform to get that interest and to get that experience.
Sorry.
Yeah, and in either case, it's as long as you have a strategy for it and you realize that's where you're at. It's either a portion of your strategy or it's a step on a way to going somewhere else, and you're planning for that next phase. I mean, that's an important part when you're using these platforms.
Yeah, so he rightly mentioned, it works as a very good proof of concept, phase. So people can launch, see the reception from the market, and then invest more money into, having a full-fledged kind of a platform.
So a lot of the things coming out is it's more like a test. So have you seen models, say for example, since you said that you consult various companies as well, do you see models wherein, say for example, you're still at this drawing board stage and you haven't probably got the entire sort of final tick off saying that we're doing the entire show and just show reel has been done, 2 episodes or whatever, and then do you sort of do that as well, that you just put that up on YouTube and sort of see success ratio and then say if it's working, then we'll create?
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from that, what we have done at Muvi is that we have a completely free plan as well. So anyone who's looking to launch an OTT platform can launch it completely free. They get a website which is semi-white labeled, which they can launch. So we are seeing a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people who want to do such kind of beta tests. Launching a website, going to their target market, showing the content, and then planning to sign up for a more comprehensive solution with us.
I mean, it's really a modern day. In the old days, you'd set out teaser trailers and that thing. That's how you do it now. Is through these open platforms, because they're really more of a lean forward experience, where you're trying to drive an audience to your lean back experience. So you give them something that they can interact with, that they can dig into to get more information, so that eventually they'll come. Because if they'd pay for everything, nobody would use the free platforms. But you want to give them a lead and forward experience that they can have, so that they will come back to what you have, and they'll pay you for it, and they'll get the hours in.
Stop you on that. When you said lean forward, what's your thought on TikTok?
I see it as a lean forward interactive experience.
Do you see them talking away some revenue from YouTube?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there's room for multiple platforms, I think.
I think Pinakin will be the.
So I think, I completely agree with the lean forward and lean back mechanism and how you got to funnel the guy. So today, if I have to watch a new show, okay, let's look at it from a consumer angle. I don't know what the show is about. I've seen some hoardings, I've seen some newspaper ads. Where am I going to get the first look of the show? I have to go to YouTube, right? Someone will tell me what the show is about if they've watched it. Then what is my process to get to the final show? Now look at it from this standpoint. Certain OTT players actually say, okay, you've given us a 100 rupee subscription for a year, for example's sake. But there's this extra piece of premium content which we're going to charge you 2 rupees to watch extra, in spite of you paying this 100 rupees, right? How do you get to that? You have searched for that on YouTube. What you're served on a Netflix or what you're served on Prime is based on their ML, AI, recommendation engine, all of that, your behavior, all of that. But over here, you're actively going and typing, saying, what is this show like? So it's a very different mechanism. To answer your TikTok question, well, it can happen. A lot of, if you see what's happening is that a lot of Instagram celebrities have now taken to TikTok. TikTok doesn't have a pure monetization model yet, just like YouTube, but there is a chance that it might happen. And these guys can also actually do longer format content. TikTok is very short form, very quick, you know, like the Uber drivers love it. But and that's they saying this is fun because I can keep going up, I can keep going up. But on YouTube, it might be a 2.5 minute engagement experience. So the format is different. That's the thing. And on the other hand, you might also see creators from YouTube, now since channel memberships have been enabled, where they will build like a semi-OTT within YouTube itself. So it means I'm ready to pay 150 rupees a month or 59 rupees a month to get this premium content from my creator specifically delivered to me before anyone else.
So are you therefore saying that there is a opportunity for YouTube to create Red again?
Sorry, let me understand your question. There's an opportunity for YouTube,
to create Red again?
to get Red again.
To make Red again?
Make Red again? No, actually that depends on whether you think Red was a mistake or not, firstly. Secondly, if you are empowering the creator to go ahead and to be able to manage what he wants to serve to his most loyal customer, I think there's an opportunity for memberships to grow exponentially. You don't need to have you don't need millions of views. You don't need millions of subscribers. The content needs to be the connect. That's what this is opening up.
So if content is sort of being created by some of the best names in the industry, and we have some of them in the audience as well, then still why the question of perhaps trying to not be able to be sure of what they're creating and still do more of a trial. So say, for example, you've got a big show like Hostages coming up on, you know, a new channel. Why would they, for example, then put it up on, say, YouTube and say, snack on it, and if it doesn't work, we'll sort of lose the opportunity of the person seeing maybe the second episode, right?
So it is mainly to do with newer type of content rather than the tried and tested content. So maybe a new format or a new
So let me hold you to that. When you say type of content, you want to dig in what type of content would they experiment with?
It could be, cutting across the genres. It could be maybe a new genre that they are trying to create.
Give me an example of a new genre. You can be open. You could talk about it. I think we have an adult audience.
I think new, for me, specifically for me, I think there was a show on Amazon which was funny, but it also had this 1970s, 80s, 90s spoof of horror Hindi movies. I think it was called, no, does anyone remember what it's called? Khufia Mahal or something, sorry? Shaitan Haveli, yeah, that's the one. So that's a different genre for me, right? We are generally used to comedy, we're generally used to horror, but this was like a mix and match.
Horror comedy. So you're saying when you mix sort of maybe a mango and banana shake together, let's start on YouTube, and when we're sort of doing just mango in the mango season, we'll go straight out and put it up on sort of just on Amazon.
I'd just say that YouTube is a great testing bed. You get lots of data.
You can try, I mean, it can be a different genre, it can just be a different brand, right? So, when you're producing content, it's not always just about a new genre. I mean, it can be just a new brand that you're, a new show that you're putting out there that you're trying to get and gauge the success. I mean, there's so much content that gets created, and, a small percentage of it makes it. So rather than putting everything into a big launch, which can be really expensive, if you look at the studios, they can lose millions of dollars on content just in promoting it. And that's not even counting like the production. So having a test bed out there is critical for that kind of endeavor. So it gets even more content out there.
So is it right to say that companies or sort of houses or media companies which have got sort of not as large sort of money in their bank, they will try these mediums, but when a company like Disney comes all out, will say, I don't need your YouTube, I'll keep doing all my things on my own.
Well, so Disney already did it, right? So they've invested early on in free platforms. So, they're already on to that next step. When we talk about, is it a step in your journey to get the content out there? They started years ago with Hulu, right? So they had that platform, they tested it out, and now they're going on to the next thing, which is full paid, everything you're getting paid for. So for a smaller company, you still have to go through that process, right? Because you need to acquire those eyeballs, you need to get that content out there, you need to figure out what content works for you and what content doesn't.
So smaller company tried, bigger companies have gone through that thing. What if you're in that space of most companies seem to be in that mid-tier? So where does, say, for example, a company like sort of Facebook ever stack up? Which means that if I heard someone say that there's a fair amount of data which comes out through YouTube, and therefore you're sort of using the power of that to sort of co-create and learn. So does Facebook at all make sense in the scheme of things, or what do you guys have a thought regarding Facebook?
Facebook has been trying quite hard to get into the video streaming space. With IGTV as well, on Instagram being launched and stuff. But the traction is not that good so far. It's mainly user-generated content that is going up over there. I think since YouTube is already a brand, people and a tested brand for streaming, people are more comfortable uploading content over there because discovery becomes very easy over there rather than probably on a IGTV or a Facebook.
And so Facebook's a technology platform, right? So
Sure.
they've got the eyeballs there, and so if you look at the old adage of if you want to make money in a gold boom, you want to sell the pickaxes, right? So they have the eyeballs already. They have a platform to deliver it. It makes more sense for them to work with content producers and be that engine than for them to, and not necessarily that they wouldn't go into to having their own platform, but or their own content that they produce. But I think they're positioned pretty well where they're at.
I think Facebook is actually really trying to adapt to take advantage of the video wave, whether it's IGTV, whether it's Watch, whether it's, take a typical film promotion, okay? A typical film promotion will have the trailer, the teaser, the small snippets, all of that on YouTube. But what they'll do is that they'll do something specific for the platform. So if there's a particular actor or a particular actress, either depending on the following, either on the actor's page, actress's page, or on the profile, or on the production house's page, they'll do something specific for that platform. That means even as a marketer, you're acknowledging that there might be a crossover between YouTube and Facebook, but Facebook is more of a social interaction platform. So there is a chance that, now they have Watch Party, which is cool. I love that. So if you really think that the trailer is cool, you can quickly invite your friends and say, hey, listen, let's watch this film together, and make the plan immediately. That's great. That level, that layer that they're adding will have a lot of value.
So don't we all believe that sort of, this whole OTT business is also sort of not about just one person watching it all the time, but sometimes watching it with people as well. And having said that then, how important therefore is social from that perspective, whether it is a platform like Facebook, or it could be Snapchat, it could be, anyone else as well?
No, definitely. So see, the OTT wave started because it gave that individual power to watch a content in silo. I could watch any content I want, anywhere I want, without showing it to others. You can't probably stream or sacred games in front of your parents, right? You can't watch that socially. But now slowly the shift is starting to happen where people want to watch particular kind of content together. Like for example, I and my bunch of friends would probably like to watch Game of Thrones together, So that's where the social angle will come into picture, and that's where, probably technology will drive things to make that happen. Maybe one can be the admin who kind of pauses, and the entire video pauses for everyone else.
Right now there's a technology challenge for that, right? And that's
Exactly.
latency, right?
Yeah.
So with anything going over transit, right, versus traditional, there's a synchronization issue. So there are new technologies that are out there that are bringing down latency so that you
Right.
can have a more interactive experience.
True.
And there are certain platforms that are out there, particularly in like trivia and that are getting more to that phase. As this technology gets more widely adopted, I think you'll see more more social, more interactive content out there. But there's still a little bit of a technology gap.
So I'm going to hold you to that. So being a tech sort of company as well, and you sort of power so many different platforms, going back to this question in terms of sort of, we discussed just a couple of sort of questions earlier, was the fact that if you really want to sort of test out whether you really want to go ahead and make the entire show or not, what's the sort of data or milestone, or is there some sort of a mantra or a certain number to say, hey, you know what, we've got this sort of number and we're good to sort of go and launch?
Well, I don't think that real world decisions on creation of content is based purely on a free streaming testbed. I don't think that's the way it works. But each channel or each company will have their own metrics. So for example, if I'm a 3 million subscriber channel and I know that my average watch time is 7 minutes, then if I come close to 7 minutes, do I want to release it, not release it? Do I need to invest more in this type of content with this actor, with this actress? I read the comments, I look at the data, and then figure out what I want to do. But there's no real threshold, because each threshold has to be individual according to what your past performance on that platform has been.
What I was trying to get is there like that one or two larger data points that you'll say, we've cracked it and now all in for creating this show? What's that one or two triggers?
Well, I think the triggers are all the same across all platforms. It's always likes, shares, watch time, views, and comments. That's it. How else are you going to read the data, right?
Well, and it's revenue based, right? So some content is worth more than other content.
Most
right?
important.
So, yeah, I mean, if you look
Finally, someone's hit the nail on the head. The big question, we're all in it for the money. So yes, go on. Love to hear this.
I mean, if you look at sports have different numbers than media, right? Just because it's more timely and, so it has to be right now. So it's got a different number than if you're looking at media. And then if you look at media, different genres are going to have different numbers as well, right? So how expensive is it for you to produce that content? User-generated content is extremely cheap. So you don't need that many people to watch it before you go to that next phase. So there's no magic number, I don't think. It's really dependent on your audience. It's dependent on the content and how much you can get for that, how much you can get from that audience for your content.
And the cost of production.
What's an average cost of production if sort of we have a lot of people from the production background as well? Say, for example, you want to create like a good, 4-minute with 4 good stars. You guys are all veterans, come on.
So,
Pinakin, take it.
Again, what is your definition of good and what is your definition of good stars? Because, I mean, there are enough people in the room.
I'm giving you 5 likes, so the star should be 5 up there. And I've got like 10 comments on those. Let's assume that those big bankable stars.
So let's assume that your cost of your stars, I'm not an expert in this domain, precursor, but let's assume that a 4-minute should be a 1-day shoot and you need 4 celebrities. You wanted 4 celebrities,
yeah.
right? So 4 celebrities at, let's say, 2 lakh rupees a day.
Wow.
That's what you're looking at, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, you can do this backward. I think there's a site that helps you. You just put in the Instagram handle of a particular celebrity,
yeah.
and they tell you what the post value should be. And you'd be surprised with some of the South Indian Instagrammers that I've seen, that according to that website, they deserve $5,000 a post. So I'm saying 2 lakh rupees, you're saying a 5-star celebrity. So 2 lakh rupees, 4 celebrities, 8 lakh rupees. Plus your cost of production also depends on your genre. Listen, I'm trying to answer your question as much as possible, but I really need to know, is it chroma based?
I'm hoping the audience is going to take something out of it, so sort of, yeah.
Yeah, is it chroma based? Is it outdoor shooting? What is your sound setup? What is the quality of production you want? Are you trying to shoot in 4K? What is the deal? So these are the factors that come into play when you're actually making your sheet earlier. So I need a little more
made the
specific
sheet.
to that.
Anyone from the costing side here? Anyone from the business side here? Someone's made the sheet. Yeah, Hemant's right here. Someone's made the sheet, and Hemant's they've made a sheet of over 30 lakhs. Now they're going to put it up on YouTube to do some testing. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
the Woots and the old Balaji, you would be willing to put in 1 crore rupees a day. But if you have somebody like me who's very frugal about cost, I can actually do it in 1 lakh rupee, which is a production cost. And there is enough talent in the country today, so I would blindly pick 5 people from Instagram who have a great fan following, and I can wrap up the content in, say, 2.5 lakh rupees, which is a 10-minute content shot on a single day. And I can assure you that I can get you as many good likes and views that you would get by spending 25 lakh rupees on a single day shoot.
We need more creators like you, man.
So let's assume for a moment that hypothetically, if in a world which keeps changing and suddenly sort of, you have like this one big giant coming up or whatever, or suddenly someone collapsing as well. And 2023, YouTube doesn't exist, for example. Then what happens? Where do you do the testing, alpha, beta, gamma? What do you do?
I think we are already geared for that. As I mentioned, initially, we have a free platform as well. People can launch their own OTT platform free of cost.
That's a sales pitch now, come on.
I think people will start doing it within their existent apps itself. They'll create the social environment or they'll create the testing environment within their app. That's the most simple way to get your data.
I mean, the challenge still is eyeballs, right? So it's the only reason YouTube is where it's at is because there's eyeballs there. So you just need to go wherever the eyeballs are. So if it went away, there's gonna be a void there that's gonna be filled, right? So and that vacuum would be filled quickly. I think there's thousands of companies that are very willing to take that spot if YouTube shutters their doors.
So any last wrap up in terms of points, and I could start with you and we'll go here before we open the floor for discussion. So do you want to sum up something in terms of sort of, what's it in terms of the strategy with YouTube, non-YouTube, smaller company, bigger company, mid-sized company, advertising, revenue, distribution?
What I would like to say in the end is it's all about analytics, the data points that you get. If that works out for everyone, no matter from what medium you get that analytics, you will be investing in the content or not. That strategy will be on the analytics.
I agree. Analytics is most important. Right now, my analysis of the room is that everyone's super hungry, so we should leave.
Yeah, I mean, analytics and data, the points that you get out are important. I mean, I'd say the other thing is it's important to know what your strategy is when you go in, because a lot of times if you use these free platforms as a stepping stone, and make sure you know where you're going next, right? Because it's very easy to go in there and get hooked on their analytics and get embedded into that platform, and then it makes it very complicated to make it to that next step. So when you're using these free platforms, it's very important to know what your next step is, what technology partners you're going to work with going forward after you go there, and what happens once you do meet success, right? So once you have that audience, what is your platform and what is your plan going forward? So looking down the road is really critical when using these platforms.
So for the benefit of the audience, is there a sort of a time span for like a typical series or a show in terms of testing, taking analysis, taking data, putting it back, and then, what's that typical cycle? Is there a certain mantra, certain number?
I mean, if you look at Netflix, sometimes their shows won't take off and really get an audience for a couple seasons, right? So, and sometimes they launch a couple episodes and they take off. If you look at Game of Thrones, which is one of the biggest global events, the first couple seasons were kind of meh, right? I mean, they didn't do great, and their audience really took off after a couple seasons. Now, a couple of them, there'll be a couple shows in, and the audience will take off. So there's no magic number there.
So for example, Gangnam Style is one of the larger videos. Like for the first 1-2 months, no one knew about it on YouTube. So you can't really, it has to be on a case-by-case basis. It's all very custom. You can't really tell that just because I got this much traction in this much time, that means my series will work for sure. I don't think there's a perfect science to it.